It's been nearly 4 years since the lead singer of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, passed away, and we still remember him very fondly through his large volume of work with the band and his solo projects. But while Bennington has passed away, his legacy lives on through his widow Talinda, the 320 Changes Direction campaign, and the Campaign to Change Direction, for which the sim racers for mental health are racing for tonight. Who will find the strength to defeat the field and take the win in honor of Chester tonight at Talladega? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the 2021 Chester Bennington Memorial 150, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Reese Gardner and James Watson. Our director is Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Talladega Superspeedway is infamous among racing drivers. Let's head to our track guide to learn why.
Welcome to Talladega Superspeedway. Not satisfied with his incredible accomplishments with Daytona, Bill France Sr. plucked up a plot of land in Alabama east of Birmingham and had one goal: make it faster. At 2.66 miles and with 33 degrees of banking, he succeeded. Not only is the banking steeper and the lap longer than Daytona, but the track itself is wider as well. As you'd expect, this makes for one of the most unique styles of racing motorsports has ever seen. The slipstream allows drivers to stay with one another so easily that it becomes less about the speeds each driver can reach and more about the strategy of racing in a pack. Bump drafting is a technique in which the car behind actually pushes the car in front so that both are able to reach higher speeds. And side drafting is another in which the drivers use the air off the sides of their cars to slow their opponents down. Staying out of trouble is always a difficult aspect of superspeedway racing, and it's not uncommon to see drivers intentionally move to the back of the pack to avoid the chaos. In fact, the high speeds make large wrecks so hard to avoid that the term "the big one" has become commonplace to refer to the almost inevitable multi-car pileups the circuit is known for. Also, entering pit lane is its own skill, which requires practice in order to slow the car up as quickly and safely as possible. Keeping the car clean and in contention is the main goal for much of the event. Then the final few laps, it's a race to the line, with any alliances usually dissolving and the driver's urge to win taking over. Known for gobbling up cars and ruining a driver's good day in the blink of an eye, Talladega truly holds the title of the biggest and baddest track on the NASCAR circuit.
There we saw a couple of wonderful shots about some of the distinct aspects of Talladega, but Reese, why don't you talk to us about how the trucks are going to handle it tonight?
Indeed. Welcome to the broadcast, everyone. Talladega, 2.66 miles. That's 4.28 kilometers for those who live in metric land. This track has been around since the early 1960s. It's the longest super speedway in the United States, and it provides fantastic racing with its big dependence on the draft. The drivers are probably going to be forming those big packs and trying their best not to go for the big one.
Absolutely. And tonight, the Sim Racers for Mental Health are, as usual at their special events, bringing attention to a good cause. And tonight's cause is the Campaign to Change Direction. The Campaign to Change Direction is a national initiative designed to change the culture of mental health in the U.S. by raising awareness about the 5 signs of emotional suffering and address common barriers to understanding these conditions. Developed in partnership with Give an Hour, the campaign website offers public service announcements, social media posts, and posters the public can use to spread the word. Visit their website at the link in the description of this video to learn more. All right, Reese, why don't you talk to us about the race details tonight?
Well, this is the Chester Bennington Memorial 150, so these guys are going to be racing for 54 laps around Talladega Superspeedway. They got the NASCAR trucks out there on the circuit. It's a fixed setup. They've got 100% fuel tank capacity, as you can see, and a single spare car to use. If they get involved in a wreck, they can easily get back out there in short order. In terms of pit stops, well, we'll probably be seeing fuel-only stops, and tires might not be as big of a factor due to this race's short length, but who knows, we might see drivers coming in and getting some fresh rubber under caution, see if that helps them later on in the race. They're already doing quite a bit of drafting there in practice. Good to get a little bit more time in out there on the circuit before they go racing.
Absolutely a great opportunity for them to get some practice in the draft. Usually in these practice sessions, we tend to see a lot more aggressive moves than we see during the race, but we also see a lot more broken up packs. We're currently riding on board with Kevin Kittleman as he's racing around in a group of 3 trucks. Currently not the quickest, actually. Right behind them is Thomas Fensler and Scott Ricard, who are both climbing up to the back of these guys. You can see there that is James Netherly, who is about to pop out in front. But then here we go, riding on board with Scott Ricard as he's going to try and go around the outside during this practice session. But all these drivers just getting warmed up on the track race.
Indeed they are, and you can see the multiple lanes of racing that form here at Talladega. Fensler there going to the outside and making it 3 wide down the back straight, which is something that always puts the heart in the mouth. Down on the apron as well there is Jason Nethery, just trying to get out of the way of those guys, because it can be a bit scary when you're lapping out there and you've got people practicing drafting. You don't want to mess things up for them, because you'll see a lot of drivers working together. If they get split off into another pack, you'll see the drivers bump drafting, working together at the front of that pack to try and bring themselves up to the front.
Absolutely, and we also have a pit reporter with us tonight, James Watson. Now, James, Reese was talking earlier about some of the pit strategies that we're going to see, but if we have the opportunity for green flag pit stops tonight, what are going to be some of the aspects that the drivers are going to have to keep in mind as they come to pit road? And we'll get back to James shortly. It sounds like he might be having a little bit of an issue with his microphone, but while we're talking about it, if you want to keep track of the drivers, your favorite driver that you end up seeing on the left pylon that we're seeing right now, you can take a look at gsrc.tv. It is our timing and scoring for tonight. So if you want to take a look at your favorite driver and keep track of where they are in the field, especially here at Talladega, it could be really complicated to keep track of all those drivers. So definitely something that we can keep track of around here at gsrc.tv. But with a minute left in practice, Reese, what are your expectations going into the race tonight? Are you expecting a lot of tight pack aggressive racing, or are you expecting people to ride around until those last laps?
Well, I'm expecting, I guess, a bit of a split between those two styles. You know, down in Australia, we talk about buying a ticket to the end, and, you know, that's obviously relevant in endurance races. It's also relevant in oval racing as well, because if you make one mistake out there, as you can see, that's what's going to happen. Just one misjudged move, and you're going to be taking out probably at least 5 drivers with you. So we'll probably be seeing drivers be very, very careful out there in the opening laps, hopefully at least.
Absolutely. So with about 30 seconds left, let's head back to James Watson, who's figured out his mic issue. And James, same question for these drivers during the green flag pit stops, if we're fortunate enough to have any. What kind of things are they going to be looking out for as they jump onto pit road?
Well, the number one thing is to be able to get onto pit road as smoothly as possible. You're going to take fuel only. There is no reason for you to take tires under green. So you have to be able to get onto pit road easily without locking up the tires and taking a whole lot of grip off, and, you know, obviously not airmailing it down and putting yourself on the grass at a high rate of speed and getting yourself slapped with an unsafe pit entry penalty and a speeding on entry penalty. So I don't really think there's a harder track to get on the pit road than Talladega, just because of the sheer speed you're coming on the pit road with, and about 1 million other cars behind you trying not to kill one another.
Absolutely, James. And obviously these trucks are known for being extremely wheel hoppy also when they're slowing down from high speeds. So now into our 5-minute qualifying session. These drivers will have 2 laps to set the qualifying time. They will have the track all to themselves. They're all in their own little separated out sessions in the sim world. And so they have the track entirely to themselves, and they have 2 laps to set a quick time. Currently, the 86 truck of Drew Bernardi is going to be the first truck to come around for us. He's going to be the first one to start his flying lap, as he's just now coming off of turn 4. We're going to go on board with Drew. And Reese, why don't you talk us through some of the strategies for qualifying here at Talladega?
Well, the drivers are each given 2 laps in this session, and that's important because with the amount of speed that you carry around this place, you need that extra lap to just gather up the momentum. You can see that Drew is sticking to the high line around the oval. That's going to allow him to carry a bit more speed through the corners, save the tires for the actual hot lap, and also use this downward sort of slope off the banking onto the back stretch to carry more speed. There's a little bit more of a drop if you're running the high line, so it gets you some extra momentum. But when he gets onto the hot lap, you'll see him sticking to the inside through the corners. That's where the grip is, the rubber is, tightest line around the track, and he'll be trying to carry as much speed as he can.
Absolutely, and this is as fast as these things can go. The throttle pinned to the floor as he exits turn 4 and heads down towards the tri-oval. He's going to dive down to that bottom lane, and now in that bottom lane, it's a little bumpy here as he goes through the center of the tri-oval. He's going to clip that apron on that yellow line, and here we go, starting his second time lap. The first time lap tends to be the slower of the two, so we'll see. He was the first across the line, but he is not the top of the timing charts. Right now it is Michael Jeans who just crossed the line, and we're looking at Finn Robinson, who has yet to set his time. Now the start-finish line in a strange place on this track, Reese.
Indeed it is. It's just after the tri-oval, which is a bit unusual for a D-shaped oval such as Talladega. There is the start-finish line that Steve Rad has just encountered. Matt Zaccardo to the top of the session so far, but everyone's setting 56-second lap times. Those times will undoubtedly drop. What about Hunter Gagan there? Mid-South, 56.193. The times are all very close here.
Absolutely. Our top 12 underneath half of a second as Thomas Fensler crosses the line. He has yet to set his first representative lap time. Actually, he does. Thomas Fensler coming across with a 1:01, so that's not going to be a super quick lap. And with how long it takes these trucks to get up to speed, that's not going to be super great for him.
No, certainly not. He must have been compromised somewhere along the way there, not carrying as much speed as he would like. He hits, well, I'm running metric units, so it's 275 kilometers per hour that Thomas Fensler sets, but Matt Zaccardo sets a 56.2 there, not quite able to capitalize on the extra pace on the second lap. Tyler Graff currently in 24th, and that is going to be a 5/10 improvement for him. Moves up well.
So Sean A. Williams currently on provisional pole with Matt Zaccardo in second, Spencer Brislin in third. This is Krobach who crosses the line with a 56.190. That's good enough for 10th position. Mitchell Liam Sullivan crossing the line with a 56.201. Good enough for 13th. So many close times here. The times on the clock just getting closer and closer. In fact, our top 20 are underneath 0.1 of a second, but look at that. Sean Stevens going up to provisional pole.
Excellent time there from Stevens, and then Sean Williams puts himself up to P2 as well. Kenny Zeems coming across the line, 54 seconds, 55, 56, 195 for him. My goodness, these times are close. I'm seeing 2 drivers on a 56.19 in the sim, 2 drivers on a 56.185. Michael Jean's just ahead of those 2 on a 56.184. This is crazy.
Absolutely, and with 10 seconds left in qualifying, there are about 10 drivers who are deciding not to set a qualifying time. This is actually a fairly normal strategy at Talladega, and once we do the starting grid, we'll tell you why. But with qualifying finishing, Mitchell Liam Sullivan finishes his second lap, only good enough for 15th position, but that will take us to the starting grid. As we see the iRacing pace car sit there out on the grid, and everyone will start to stock up. It's going to be Sean Stevens who takes pole position over Sean A. Williams in second position. Matt Zaccardo is going to line up first on row 2 with Spencer Brislin lining up in fourth. Finn Robinson starts off 5th position with Kyle Dean in 6th. Michael Jeans on row 4 with Hunter Gogan, and then we have Randy Funderbunk and Bill Schmidt, who's going to line up in our top 10.
Over the page, the 72 of Michael Krobach shares the 6th row with Daniel Mosteller. Kenny Zeems and John Buwaldo there in 13th and 14th, with Mitchell Liam Sullivan pipping himself up to 15th in the dying moments of the qualifying session. He starts alongside David Leakey. Philip Resch and Creighton Carter, 17th and 18th, with the top 20 rounded out by Thomas Fensler and Daniel Stein, just over a 10th behind our pole man.
Tyler Graff is going to line up in 21st position, with 22nd being Steve Rada. Dan Hissey going to start off in 23rd with Drew Bernard. Bernardi are the first driver to cross the line with a set of time, starting off in 24th position. Scott Ricard is going to start off 25th with Matt Crockett in 26th, row 14, with William Kruska, our league admin for tonight, and Tony Burt in the 28th spot. Last driver to set a time. Row 15 is going to go to Ken Zeems and Brian Chesmara in 30th.
And there's 40 trucks in this session. They are headed up in the last section by McManus and Poplin. Then we got the number 5 alongside the 55. Regis Clark and Adam Coles, 33rd and 34th. Kevin Kittleman, Jeremy Garan, 35th and 36th. And the final 2 rows of the grid, Jason Nethery, JT Tinker, and then Seth Hagen and Stephen Brown to round out our magnificent field of trucks who are now out on their formation lap. This is going to be fantastic. I have taken part in a few races at Talladega. I've certainly watched a couple of races at Talladega, but my first time, I think, doing an actual broadcast on it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes down.
Well, it's a big field tonight, 40 trucks, almost the maximum field that we can put on this track, so quite a few trucks out there. The weather, on the other hand, not so nice for these guys. I mean, it's nice for the fans, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 26 Celsius, but the track, 128 Fahrenheit, 53 Celsius. That's going to be a toasty one out there tonight. It's going to make the track very slippery, Reese.
Absolutely is. As the track gets hotter, you tend to deal with a bit more understeer in the front tires because they just can't cope with all of the extra heat being put through them. So I reckon that if the drivers want to get tires at some point, if there's a caution in the middle of the race, that'll be a good opportunity to cool things down a little bit. But they'll be coming up to the start very shortly, Adam. And the question is, when is Sean Stevens going to put the hammer down?
Absolutely. So as they exit turn number 4, the iRacing pace car will pull off to the left side and dive down pit lane. At that point, Sean Stevens controls the field. He can choose to go whenever he wants, but tradition has it generally at the start of the race that they will wait until they go through the dogleg. So let's see whether or not Sean goes with that tradition, because it's not really going to do him much benefit to jump off the front. Sean Stevens leading them through with Sean A. Williams on the outside, both of them in their Camping World truck machines. And here we go, coming up to the starting line. When is Sean Stevens going to jump? And he jumps now, and he does not get the help that he needs. The 89 of Sean A. Williams gets a fantastic jump, with Spencer Breslin up on the high side, giving a nice shove. But it looks like Sean Stevens' help in the form of Matt Zaccardo is going to start coming up behind him shortly. Sean Stevens just about cleared by Sean A. Williams going off of turn 2.
Hunter Gogan moving to the inside lane in his Pepto-Bismol truck as looks like first, second, and now fourth were all together in a line, but moving down to the inside is Sean Williams. He's blocking off the advance of Sean Stevens there. So now we're going to be seeing the dichotomy of the packs, the high line and the low line. High line currently headed up by Spencer Breslin, who's getting a good push from Kyle Dean. But now for the moment, everyone's just going to try and stay single file, give themselves some bump drafts as they hit 293 kilometers per hour through the tri-oval to the outside, moving Sean Stevens. So the battle for the lead is not over by any stretch.
Not at all. Looks like it's going to be too wide for the foreseeable future right now, as they've just completed lap 1 of 54 tonight. It is not a timed race. It is 54 laps total, so it's about an hour if we don't get too many cautions here. Look at this. A nice jump to the front. Sean Stevens moving down to that bottom lane as he's passed up Sean A. Williams. So now in full control of this race down there in front of the purple truck of Sean A. Williams. We're riding on board with Sean Stevens now.
And when you're the front car in a pack, you don't have any benefit of the draft. You're the one punching the hole in the air for everyone else to go through. And it seems that the high line getting a little bit of extra momentum as they go through the tri-oval. Spencer Breslin now alongside Sean Williams in that hot pink machine. You can't miss it. My goodness. It's high stakes stuff here because all of the drivers, especially the ones in the middle of this pack, they're going to be very tentative on the throttle, just riding the brakes so they don't go too hard into the rear bumper of the car in front. There is the run from the high line. Once again, Kyle Dean pushing Spencer Breslin into the lead as we have a truck off on the apron.
We do have a truck off on the apron. That is John Buwalda, who ended up sliding through the apron. Looks like we're going to stay green, though, as he's able to drift back up into the front of the field. But we have the top 25 trucks that are more or less in this front pack, and then the bottom 15 that are scattered out the back. And Reese, is that part of a strategy that these drivers can utilize? It looks like we have a little bit of three-wide going on as one driver is bailing out of the top line.
Yes, indeed. That driver bailing out is Michael Krobach, who we were following in qualifying, as down to the front goes Mr. Kyle Dean. So now our pole sitter all the way down there in, I think, 5th place. Oh, no, that's a bit of a slide there for Kyle Dean. He's going to have to file all the way to the back of that pack now, as to the lead goes Michael Jeans, moving down to the bottom line as a little bit of apron usage there from Sean Stevens. This is getting pretty intense.
These drivers looking fairly squirrely even on lap 4 right now, so not the most stable trucks in the world underneath them right now, and they clearly have a lot of drag. Look at this. Spencer Breslin's going to dive up to the high side, jumping in front of Finn Robinson to try and make his way by Michael Jeans, but in doing so, he lost a lot of momentum, and now we've got 2 bump drafts going on. Oh, Spencer Breslin getting a big shove from Finn Robinson, able to hang on to that truck, but that was almost a gigantic wreck.
Oh, that was a good save there from Spencer Breslin. Unfortunately, that's cost him momentum. That's allowed the top 2 to get along in front of him there. The pushing, though, continues from Finn Robinson, and Finn will probably be a bit apologetic to Spencer Breslin for almost taking him out there. You've got to be careful with how you execute the bump draft in these things, especially at such high speeds. They're very sensitive to the slightest of taps. So number 2 will be wanting to avoid that in the future.
Absolutely. If I was the number 8, I'd be trying to get out of that top line. I would decide that it's not really worth it to push this hard at the beginning. We see the 84 truck of David Leakey going to that high side, possibly trying to form a 3rd lane and get around the 13 of Bill Schmidt. It looks like they're going to do that. The 83 truck of Philip Resch is going to go with him, and they're going to make that 3rd line happen on that high side. The 13 truck of Bill Schmidt, a little bit unstable in the middle line, might be why those guys decide to go to the high side.
Indeed, so that is Leakey and Resch making their way up here, and they're calling to the drivers, join us up on the high line. Scott Ricard answers the call, so now they are 3 wide through turn 4. Oh goodness, this is heart and mouth stuff. Massive clench moment as they come through off the banking. I'm interested to see how that high line works because, yeah, as you've said, the middle line that the number 8 and the number 2 are running, it doesn't seem to be the most stable at the moment. There's probably some marbles being thrown up by the tires, making things a little bit slippery there in the middle, but just jerking up and down again is the number 8. I'm wondering if that was another slide.
That was a little bit of a slide and then a push from Finn behind, so that ended up almost causing an accident. But once again, that high line working well, but I'm a little concerned about the 83 of Philip Resch. He tends to be pushing on that left rear quarter panel, and that can end up sending the cars around as Finn, once again, Finn Robinson almost spinning out Resch up ahead of him. But here we go. We've got David Leakey currently pushed out front on that high line, but he can't get clear.
Yeah, it seems that once they really hit the banking of the turns, that high line with the wider line around the circuit, technically, a few meters longer at least, so that's why they lose out a little bit. But coming down the straight off the banking with that drop that I talked about in qualifying, that's going to really play to their benefit, as moving forward still is Breslin and Robinson. Meanwhile, in the turns, the top 2 starters keep themselves hooked in behind Michael Jeans, who moves back into the lead. The high line comes back in again, and it's only a trio of trucks out there. It is currently Leakey, Resch, and Ricard, who are the only ones up there trying that high line. Don't know if it's working for them.
Yeah, this is lap 8 of 54, so very early to be doing a lot of 3-wide action, and likelihood is that if we see an accident, this will get a little bit calmer, but goodness gracious. Finn just putting that pressure onto that second line front row and ending up getting him very squirrely here. Oh, there's no. More contact with the truck at the wall. He's going to be able to hold on to it up there. Wow, that was really close to a gigantic incident. The 89 truck of Sean A. Williams on the bottom side, but Spencer Breslin got pushed a little bit too hard by Finn. That's exactly what I was afraid of, Reese.
Indeed, we're on the replay here. We can see what happened coming down through the tri-oval. Looks to me like just as Breslin was tapped downwards by the number 2, that was Michael Jeans, who moved up slightly. He might have gotten a bit of a slide on from Sean Stevens behind, so up into the wall goes the number 8, and that's not going to be something that he'll be too happy with. Down on the apron, meanwhile, is Sean Williams, our position 2 starter. It seems that he got a bit of a slide on himself, and he's fallen back into the pack. No sign of that pink car there.
Absolutely. William Kruska, our event organizer, now pushing Tony Brurt on the high side, making that third line work as they try and make their way around the outside, making a nice push up there. They've got the help of the 83 truck of Philip Resch, who, once again, he was on that high side early. Oh, look at this. It's going to go 4 wide now. Contact.
Oh,
the 17 gets bottled up, and fortunately, we stay green. But once again, almost a gigantic incident.
Wow, that screwed the high line there. William Kruska having to back off with that contact, and Philip Resch had no choice but to back off either. So that's destroyed the high line there. We're back to 2 main lines of traffic as they come down through the tri-oval. Michael Jeans still in the lead, but coming back now, the number 2 of Finn Robinson at the lead of the higher line pack. He's getting pushed by the player's car of David Leakey and Hunter Gyogen as well. But it seems that more and more drivers are moving down to that tighter line, down close to the apron.
And so what happened last time we had this kind of accordion effect is that the drivers who got slowed up by that incident end up getting such a big draft that they end up pulling up towards that high side and end up creating that third lane. So we'll see whether or not that happens again, or whether everyone's a little bit scared after having 2 almost gigantic incidents. But right now, the 2 truck of Finn Robinson trying his best to side draft her on the outside of Michael Jeans and Sean Stevens on the bottom lane, trying to get up there to the lead.
And they're 3 wide again behind. Moving up is Tony Burt, and he's joined in front by David Leakey, who's decided it's time for us to have another run at the high line here. So Finn Robinson on his lonesome in the middle. They have got Mr. Resch starting to draft up to the back of them as well. So let's see how the high line works this time. One thing's for sure, Finn Robinson, is really starting to squeeze our top runners down there through the turns.
Absolutely, and a couple of drivers taking to the safety of the apron a little bit as they go down the backstretch. But here we go. We've got 2 very organized lines at this point. The high line actually a little bit more organized than the bottom line right now. The high line being led by Finn Robinson. Michael Jeans on that bottom line still leading this race. So it's very, very close up there for those drivers, but it looks like everyone's starting to calm down a little bit here.
Yeah, and that's good to see. We still have under 4/5 of this race yet to complete, so the drivers do have to be careful. Looks like the high line coming into its own there. Finn Robinson getting drafted to the lead and swapping down to the low side to protect that lead, wanting to keep it as much as he can through this middle phase of the race.
Absolutely, and that's killed the top side draft a little bit. We're going to come up on a lap truck here. That is going to be Jeremy Garant, who has not come into the pits according to my estimation. So I believe that he is just, he lost the draft early on and just has not been able to cling on to the back of it. We've had another driver in the pits, Spencer Breslin, and he's come back out on track safely. So once again, here they come, approaching their first lap truck of the day.
Indeed, and I saw Jeremy Garand asking for an end of line at the start of the race, so not too sure if he's suffering some issues, but he's going to let all of this pack go, and you see the big difference that the draft makes right here. Garand only hitting about 270 Ks in a straight line. Meanwhile, everyone around him running nearly 300 kilometers per hour. But Garand here will have an opportunity to get into the draft and try and slipstream along with these guys, get the toe. He might be a lap down now, but if there's a caution, he can still come back as the high line comes into its own. Hunter Gagan now to the lead. And does he swap down to the low line through the turns? No, he doesn't. Oh, it's almost going to be 3 wide here. Gagan is getting no help from Philip Resch behind, who moves up to the top.
Not quite enough of a commitment from Gagan, and he's actually going to get dropped here by the field. Let's see whether anyone picks him up and gives him any help, but right now, they're just letting him slip down. He might be able to find a line underneath. Let's see whether he can fall into the bottom line, but he chooses not to. The top line getting a little bit bottled up here. A big checkup up there. That almost puts the 86 truck into the wall of Drew Pinardi, who is trying to catch back up. But once again, everyone's starting to fall back because of these checkups.
Scott Ricard moved down to give a little bit of a draft to Hunter Gagan, and it looks like they're capitalizing on that. They're starting to move back forward, but question on my mind is, when is the big one going to happen? Because I mean, the racing has been very clean so far, very careful from these drivers, which is great to see. But as the race goes on, the fatigue starts to set in, and drivers can end up making mistakes while they're up with their head in the clouds, going flat out around Talladega. But it looks like the 2 trucks on the high line not quite taking advantage through the tri-oval. They'll be waiting for the back straight to really make their move.
Absolutely, Scott Ricard and Hunter Gagan on that high side. Then we have Finn Robertson and Michael Jeans, with Sean Stevens pushing also on the low side. So it's 3 very tight trucks versus 2 on the bottom versus the high side. But look at this, Scott Ricard with a decent run, and here comes the 84 truck of David Leakey coming up with quite a head of steam. He's going to give these guys a nice push as they go into 3 and 4.
Certainly is. There's now 6 cars in a line up there on the top. You've got Mr. Resch down there at the back of that line, but the bottom line coming back into its own through the turns. There's a long string of trucks down there on the bottom. So these breakaway guys, the 6 drivers now up in the top line, wanting to stake their claim, and it seems they might be having some friends join them from further back. Mitchell Liam Sullivan briefly switched to the high line. It looks like he's going to continue to do that, with Daniel Mosteller also running in the middle of the circuit. They'll be getting a little bit of draft there from Philip Resch, as there's a little bit of an incident. Kenny Zeems got a little tap from behind by Tony Burton. He's moved down to the bottom, as my goodness, that was almost a big incident for Kyle Dean.
Absolutely, Kyle Dean getting extremely loose on his truck, so he ends up being able to save it. Fortunately, we're still green, but look at this, that high line continuing to show a lot of strength around here, trying to hang on to it, but it's starting to get a little bit disorganized. We've got only 2 trucks nose to tail right now, and then we've got the 84 truck of David Leakey, who just can't seem to cling to the back of the 7 truck of Hunter Gagan, who's currently up there trying to hold on to these top positions. The 12 truck of Tony Burt has come back into that top line, trying to push them up towards the field. He's got a little bit of room down to the bottom side if he wants to take it, but he's deciding better of it. Now it's David Leakey who's got the clear track, but the bottom line, now that they're organized, they're starting to push forward, and Finn Robinson and Michael Jeans are clear. Is Michael going to go to the high side? He's definitely giving a hard shove to Finn Robinson, but he's not clear anymore, so unfortunately that opportunity has passed.
And we've got a caution. There's been an incident out on track, and it looks like it's something that's happened at the back. Oh, yeah.
This is in the back pack. So there were actually 2 packs as we were watching this. This pack was 8 seconds behind our leader, and let's see where this happened.
Right then, going to the replay. Start with...
Okay, this actually starts with the 63 of Aaron Poplin. This was stacked up behind the leader of the second pack, who actually had a little bit of rear end damage. Aaron Poplin thought he was clear, ends up coming down. Here we see it. It's 3 wide as they cross the start finish line. Aaron Poplin thinks he's clear, so he starts coming down the track, gets clipped, and then spins in front of the rear field runners. And these guys were just trying to hang out in the back and stay safe, and they're the ones who end up causing the crash.
Yeah, it's a big shame there. I think Aaron Poplin, he thought that, he could get the draft off JT Tinker, but John Buwalda was there, and just came down on him, so into the wall they all went. But now this is an opportunity for drivers to get into the pits if they've got damage, or if they want to get some fresh rubber, maybe top up the fuel as they make their way down. I'm already seeing John Buwalda coming down onto the pits with some very heavy damage.
Absolutely. So we're about to put our pit reporter James Watson to work here as they start to come off of turn 4. Finn Robinson, Michael Jean, Scott Ricard. We'll see who ends up coming to pit lane, whether this is the opportunity for a fuel stop. There we see the damaged engine there, but here we go. Finn Robinson, Michael Jean, and Scott Ricard headed your way, James.
Yes, they are. All on pit road. No problem so far. Not that there really should be any on a yellow flag. Watching along with the race leader, see if he can get a good stop. No issues. Pulls into his box. And
saw him hitch up reverse gear there. He might have just slightly overshot.
Just a little bit, maybe as a precautionary measure, because he wasn't really that close.
It looks like a couple.
And he's away. Yeah, he lost some spots on pit road. That's a shame. Wasn't exactly the stop he was looking for, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Philip Resch leads them off of pit road with Michael Jeans in second, Sean Stevens third, Finn Robinson down to fourth position. And I can report that the 05 truck of Scott Ricard missed his box by quite a bit and might have even gotten a speeding penalty because he was 46 seconds in his box, Reese. So he came in from second position and he comes out in 25th.
That's
Same
brutal.
thing with the current race leader, Philip Resch. He did not make his box either. He just had to stop quick and went straight through.
Yeah, wow, that's a bit of a shame there for Scott Resch, or Philip Resch, sorry, because yeah, he would have had the opportunity there to get a bit of fresh rubber on his truck, but now he's out there on that older rubber, just could only get some fuel in potentially, so he might be in trouble here in this middle phase.
Yeah, absolutely, Reese. And at this stage in the race, everyone has been fairly aggressive up at the front, and it's been fairly simple, fairly not aggressive towards the back, which is why it was very surprising to see that incident at the back of the field. But James, you were keeping your eyes on those guys. What was the attitude of the driving like back there?
That's what was really surprising to me. There was hardly any racing. Every time I went to monitor them, they were single file, just running laps and waiting for the big one to happen. I don't think any one of them expected that they would be the big one. That is really interesting tactics that the back of the pack was using. Go figure that one, eh?
Absolutely, and sometimes you race with the best of intentions and your strategy with the best of intentions and can't make it work. But Philip Resch back down pit lane because of the fact that he missed his box, so he will concede the lead to Michael Jeans and Sean Stevens, who will be the ones to lead us to the line. We'll see whether or not we get the one to go this time by, and it looks like the lights are off on the iRacing pace car, so we're going to line up here. A little bit of a quickie yellow, which is something that can be done via the admin commands that were added in the last update to iRacing. So once again, our stewards giving us a quicker yellow this time around to get us back to racing faster, but quite a bit of drivers still on pit lane getting either extra fuel or extra tires, trying to maximize that fuel opportunity. But Michael Jeans, who's leading this race, he has a little bit of rear end damage that he's going to have to be concerned about. Sean Stevens in the high end looks like he's got a relatively clean truck. But Reese, what are your expectations for this restart? Are we going to see racing like we did before, or do you think people are going to calm down a bit?
I honestly don't know, because when you're racing at Talladega, it's difficult to really rein yourself in. If you get off to a restart, you can think, oh, okay, I've gained a few positions through the pit cycle. I can move up a bit more through the field, and you try to start making moves, and then you can cause another big one. So I think the drivers up at the very front are going to try and play it safe. Drivers further back in the pack, they're going to try to keep advancing forward.
All right, so we have Michael Jeans up in front of the field. Currently, he's got a NASCAR Road to Pro banner on his truck, so Clearly a driver who has made some attempts at the Road to Pro Series himself. Sean Stevens in second place, lined up in that black and red machine on the high side. We have Finn Robinson, who his pushing has been a little aggressive today, but still there in the second position. And David Leakey currently, there in the second position bottom line. David Leakey second position high line. But here we go. The iRacing pace car has dropped down. Michael Jeans now leads the field. Sean Stevens sitting about half a truck back. Might not be the best way to get the restart going, but they're not exactly stacked up at this stage in the race. And I think we're going to go around another time because this field's fairly disorganized.
Yeah, indeed. The light's still on the pace car, so we're going to go around for at least one more lap. And further back in the field, we're seeing more drivers going for the pit lane again. We got Steve Rada coming in for another tour. Tyler Graff, Creighton Carter, Matt Crockett, Michael Krobach, Scott Ricard, Brian Jamara, and pulling into the pits, Aaron Poplin, JD Tinker, and Stephen Brown. And that's something that you'll be seeing drivers further back in the field doing if a caution goes on for a bit. They'll be coming into the pits pretty much every lap just to top up the fuel a little bit more, because you don't use much fuel while you're poodling around behind the pace car, but any extra gallons, any extra liters in the tank is certainly going to help you later on.
All right, so hearing from the league admin asking the drivers to be a little bit calmer, looking for a green flag pit stop, and trying to calm everyone down, get everyone ready to go once again. So as we come off of turn 2, there's still double file, quite a few trucks on that bottom line at the end of the, well, lots of people with end of the longest line penalties, it looks like, are down there on that bottom line race. So it'll be interesting to see how this restart goes, because the bottom line is going to have an extra 10 plus trucks.
Indeed it will. That might increase the bump draft effect for the drivers further up the front, but at the same time, that high line with less trucks up there might be a little bit calmer, a little bit less happening up there on the high line. But coming into turn 4, this is where they're going to start gearing up. Michael Jeans going to lead them away, and Sean Stevens will want to try and get the best jump he can.
Absolutely, and these drivers want to get good jumps so that they can possibly make an attempt to hang on to the lead, because even though you don't want to get too far away from your helpers behind, if you can jump in front of one of the other cars, that will give you a big opportunity to hang on to the lead, assuming that they don't attack you and try and make a swap and possibly get you a little bit loose. We've seen that in the real world as well. But as we come off of turn 4, the pace car finally actually does pull down. Let's see whether or not it manages to pull off the track. It does. So Michael Jeans currently leading them to the green flag. Remember, the start-finish line is just past the tri-oval. So as they enter the tri-oval, Michael Jeans likely will not go until they at least reach the center point in the tri-oval. So here we go, getting ready to restart. Michael Jeans on the bottom, Sean Stevens on the top. Everyone's stacked in close behind them. Sean Stevens with a little bit of a nose ahead, and he's going to keep that nose ahead as they get to the restart line. Hopefully that doesn't draw him a penalty. His help is not there with him, though. David Leakey falling out the back, but that bottom lane is extremely tight together. Michael Jeans and Finn Robinson pushing very hard on the bottom side.
Fantastic stuff. They're continuing to stake their claim for the lead of this race, and yeah, the bottom line really got the advantage on that one. It'll be interesting to see if Sean Stevens ends up getting a penalty out of that one, because you're technically not allowed to pass before the start-finish line. But it seems pretty calm out there as they make their way through the turns once again. Yeah, the high line is pretty much non-existent at this point. They've only got Sean Stevens and David Leakey up there at the moment in terms of front runners, but it looks like they're going to be starting to get some help soon.
Absolutely. It looks like the top line's going to get a couple more drivers, as it looks like lots of drivers just diving for that bottom line. Drew Bernardi looks like he's a little slow on his pace in the 86 machine. He was the one who was 3 wide as they were going through turns 1 and 2 last time around, but now falling back further and further down to 25th position. But as we come off of turn 1 and 2, this lap we got Michael Jeans, Finn Robinson, and Hunter Gagan as the front 3 trucks completely uncontested.
For the moment anyway, because have a look at Sean Stevens. He's starting to creep forward there up into 3rd place. and he's got a lot of help now with those trucks behind him. Leakey, Burt, Thomas Fensler up there too. The teammates of Daniel Stein and Dan Heisey. This is fantastic stuff. And as they come through the tri-oval, they are side by side for the lead. I'm loving this.
Absolutely some great racing at the front as Michael Jean's trying to make that pass around the outside. He's trying his best to Sean Stevens was trying to make the pass around the outside, trying to hang on to that. We do have a third line starting to be created with Kevin Kittleman and Trevor McManus on the high side. They're trying to make their way up the third line, but that 3-truck train at the front of both of these lines, that seems to be the maximum that you can get lined up without causing problems, and these drivers are trying to take advantage of that.
Indeed. Oh, David Leakey is looking very racy there behind Sean Stevens, that bright green truck. This almost looked like a little bit of bumper contact on the back stretch, and just trying his best to stay in the draft, but weaving around a little bit through the turns, which has sent Tony Burt and Thomas Fensler off beat a little bit. As they come down the straight, they'll settle back down. It's another short bump draft from David Leakey on Sean Stevens, which should help them as they come towards the backstretch.
Cruisco with the fastest lap, the series organizer right now with the fastest lap of the race, but we do have that third line, Kevin Kittleman and Trevor McManus, trying to make it work up there. As we take a look once again at the side-by-side comparison, this is the best way that you can gauge how one line is doing versus another. It's a very good rendition of what the spotters tend to see when they're looking down at the track as well, from the top of the grandstands. But look at this. That is Sean Stevens making a nice run on the outside. Finn Robinson trying to hold them off on the inside, with Michael Jeans leading the pack as they go through the tri-oval one more time.
And that third lane up the top that's being headed up by Kevin Kittleman doesn't seem to be working as into the wall. Into the wall gets Trevor McManus. Oh, they avoid wrecking though. McManus with just a little bit of minor damage now to his right side. He's lost touch with that train.
Absolutely, but that little bit of hesitation from the bottom lane that happened because of that is helping the top lane gain some momentum. So Sean Stevens ending up pushing very hard. Well, getting pushed very hard rather by the 84 of David Leakey. The 84 and the two main pushers right now, that is David Leakey and Finn Robinson, and both of them pushing very hard. But man, Sean Stevens just cannot get the run through the corners. But the 84, oh man, it gets very tense right there with everyone pushing each other through the dogleg.
Indeed, and as they cross the line to start lap 28, that is half race distance complete. On board with David Leakey, looking forward at Sean Stevens. The bump draft coming in down the straight line sections, but just backing off a little bit through the turns. When the trucks are loaded up, you don't want to tap them too much. No, the big one.
And it all started with David Leakey, who got an overlap on Sean Stevens, and the big one at Talladega.
Goodness me, right at half race distance. Incredible stuff. Here's the replay.
We're going to take a look here. So this is David Leakey right now in the 84 truck. He's going to get a decent run and push the 27. The 27 goes up about half a lane. David thinks he's got him cleared, ends up clipping his rear end, and then everyone just gets completely collected in this as it dives down below the apron.
Absolutely.
That is the 27. Look at the 27 flying through the air.
Yeah, goodness. And the number 7 of Hunter Gagan got ricocheted off behind these guys. Is the onboard.
Well, hold on to your stomachs.
Oh my goodness.
That is one of the most sickening rides I think we've ever taken on GSRC on board, but he's still rolling. We're going to take a look at this one more time. And here's Zaccardo. Look at him. Look at Sean Stevens flip through the air. That truck absolutely got demolished.
Goodness me, thank goodness he has a spare car in hand. He'll be able to get back out there, but I think a lot of drivers very unhappy with that. You know, they were only a few laps into that green flag run, and unfortunately, not only is the caution back out, but it's for guys at the front of the field. That has monumentally changed quite a few drivers' races.
Yeah, this is going to change the complete complexion of this race entirely. I think anyone who doesn't have damage is likely going to stay out here, but oh, we only have a couple of drivers who are going to stay out, actually. It looks like we have a decent amount of drivers coming in, but Finn Robinson, the first truck to stay out, but quite a few trucks on the pit lane. Michael Jeans, Sean Williams, Daniel Mosteller, Mitchell Liam Sullivan, Kenny Zeems, William Kruska, a lot of the drivers that we see at the front. James, talk to me about Michael Jeans. How's he doing down there?
He's coming in for a full stop. He's taking tires, taking fuel. He's going the whole 9 yards. I don't think that's a bad strategy. I mean, it's a big risk giving up the track position and being right in the soup, given and I don't know if I really want to be back there given everything we've seen tonight, but having the extra fuel in the tires, that's not a bad way to go.
Absolutely, but as the drivers now pull off of pit lane, we will come back to this race for the green flag, but we're going to take a short break here on the GSRC. It has been an intense race here for the Sim Racers for Mental Health, the Chester Bennington Memorial 150, and we'll be back to show you more green flag racing shortly after this break. Welcome back to the 2021 Chester Bennington Memorial 150 put on by the Sim Racers for Mental Health. And man, have we had a shuffle of the field race. We have a whole new cast of characters at the front. Pretty much the only person I recognize at the front of this field is Finn Robinson, who will lead them to the green.
Indeed, in that blue truck. But yeah, thanks to the big one at the front and that caution, yeah, we've got tons of new drivers staking their claim for the lead. We've got Dan Heisey, who's going to be leading up the high line. Jason Nethery starting in third alongside Randy Funderburk. Then you got Bill Schmidt, Jeremy Garand, and then our former leader, Michael Jeans, who took a pit stop under the caution. Finn Robinson, meanwhile, stayed out. So there's a little bit of variance in the strategy going on in this second half of the race. Who's going to come away with it? I think Jeans is probably the favorite, one of the highest up cars who has a fresh set of rubber and some extra fuel in the tank.
Absolutely. Jeans has got William Kruska for company as well. In ninth position, William setting the fastest lap of the race. Kenny Zeems next to him, and Ken Zeems. We have Kenny and Ken Zeems in 10th and 11th positions. So Very interesting to notice that. But the iRacing pace car dives down to that yellow line and takes the left-hand turn to the pit lane. This is going to leave Finn Robinson with the start of this race in his hand. Dan Hissey on that high side with Jason Nethery and Randy Funderburg going to be the two cars following them in. Let's see when Finn decides to go. He can go anytime between now and the green flag line, so let's see when he decides to take that line. The top line has been getting the best starts, so here we go, and we're off. Finn Robinson once again not having a great start. Dan Hissey on that high line with a great advantage, but he's got absolutely no help behind him. Everyone's stacking up in the back of the field as they start to get off the green flag line, but now we've got Jason Dethery who's dived down to the bottom side. He's going to follow Finn Robinson through as Dan Hissey gets left in the dust.
Yeah, poor Hissey switches down to the low line, trying to maintain some form of momentum, but have a look at the pack creeping up behind them. They're 3 wide behind. You've got Randy Funderburg leading the charge in the middle, and then a big tap for Tyler Graff from Creighton Carter. Oh no, this is looking like a pack of sardines as Thomas Fensler is getting boxed in there in the number 75. This is looking a bit too intense for my tastes.
Yeah, they're all squishing together. Fensler almost wrecked as he had to actually squeeze himself by Michael Jeans, who's now all the way up to that third spot on the high line, trying to get up there towards the lead right away. But now it is 3 wide as they cross the stripe. Finn Robinson's going to lead them once again as we enter lap 33.
Oh dear, what is Dan Hissey to do here? Oh, little tap there for the top car on the top. Tyler Graff again getting a little love tap from Creighton Carter. That's lost momentum as we have a truck down on the apron. That's Daniel Mostilla, who's suffered a bit of a slide in the turn, falling to the back of the pack as they continue with this stalemate up front. Look at the high line.
Tyler Graff with a great launch. He's actually going to dive it all the way down to the bottom line, crossing 2 lanes of traffic. Side-by-side contact between the middle line and the high line. That was between Hissey and Graff up there. Very close together between those 2 drivers. And now those 2 lanes on the high line, oh my goodness, almost 4 wide as they go through the tri-oval.
Goodness me. Oh, Dan Hissey and Creighton Carter will be counting their chickens after that one. And then it looks like the low line has come back into its own as they make their way around the start of the lap. Graff and Robinson leading the charges. Oh, have a look at William Kruska. He has switched to the middle line and is going for a run.
Finn Robinson thinks about going up in front of Kruska, thinks better of it. Oh my goodness, another hard push from Finn Robinson, and Tyler Graff almost spins him out. But look at the high line coming once again. It's now got 3 trucks as Thomas Fensler dives up there as well. Here we go. Once again, the high line just with so much speed down that backstretch. Oh, almost contact. Thank goodness that truck blinked out. Otherwise, that would have been a wreck.
That was very well timed. Technical issues for Dan Hissey there. That certainly would have been contact between him and Creighton Carter. The middle line is starting to come into it with Kruska leading the charge. More contact in the field.
Yeah, that was the 34 of Jason Nethery, who almost came up and collected the 31 of Jeremy Guerin, but now they've all sorted that out. These truck drivers were absolutely insanely fast out there, keeping their foots down, going around this track at around 186 miles an hour. That top line trying to side draft their way towards the front.
Randy Funderburg very narrowly avoided contact with Creighton Carter, who's gotten a bit of a slide on there with Michael Jeans behind. Michael, of course, the lead pitter, and he is the former leader of this race. He wants to get back there quick, sharp, but it's going to be difficult with Dan Hissey there in the middle, just behind William Kruska, making life difficult for that lane up the top.
I think someone's going to have to make a compilation of all my winces this race because they're very, very numerous as we go around here. That's William Kruska, who's made that dive down to the bottom lane. He's now taking the lead of this race as they cross the line. That third lane, though, very unstable up there as Creighton Carter's going around. Wow, a lot of trucks checking up there. Look at this, the 71 truck of Creighton Carter up there on that high line, trying to get around the outside there. Side drafting, they're making side-to-side contact between the 36 and Dan Hissey as well. Very close there.
You can make a compilation of all my winces as well, as that's a big...
in the middle of the pack.
Oh,
75
dear.
Fensler squeezes by Jeremy Garrett, who ends up going into the high line. That was insane.
Oh my goodness. There is just nowhere on track to have a bit of spare space right now. The high line has fallen back now. Michael Jeans has no one in front to help him. Side-by-side contact between Jeans and Funderburg, who's getting battered around at the moment. And there we go, big slide. We might have another big one here. Michael Jeans around.
That was Funderburg as well. Jeans, after his pit stop, ends up getting a little bit too ambitious, but everyone's still going. I believe we're still green.
Yeah, they got down onto the apron. Back to the front, though. Have a look at this. It's absolutely going off. Creighton Carter has moved into the lead with William Kruschka now on the high line with the teammates of Dan Hizzy and Daniel Stein behind him.
If Kruschka was going to throw a yellow as the admin, he definitely doesn't have time to do it now. He's got his hands full up there in the front 2 rows trying to fight this off. It's going to be very intense between these drivers for sure. The top 8, actually the top 10, really stuck under a blanket right now in those 2 lanes.
Oh, goodness, I don't even know where to look. There's so much going on at the moment, but Kruschka then down to the lead. There's a bit of smoke up ahead of them. Looks like they got the lap car of Stephen Brown up ahead, but he's not going to be a problem for a while. The number 71 gets a good run down on the inside. Creighton Carter doing very well here now that he has no cars in front of him. Of course, he was the one almost putting them into slides there on the top line. Now that he's on the bottom, he's calmed down a little bit. Now William Kruschka will stake his claim for the lead once again, but a little bit of a lane left there for Creighton Carter, and it was almost taken advantage of by Tyler Graff. Oh, the high line.
Stack up, here we go.
Yep, there we go. Caution out.
And that starts with Thomas Fensler, who gets pushed around by the 31 truck of Jeremy Garand. We're going to take a look at this again. So Fensler is trying to check up there because Kruschka's on the high line. Jeremy Garand gets into the back of him and sends him into the inside. So yet another caution.
Indeed. My goodness. All right, we're going to go to another replay of the Michael Jeans incident. We're going to see what happened to him. This did not cause the caution. These guys got very lucky there to get down onto the apron. Jeans just getting a little bit of a turn on there, and like 5 or 6 trucks down on the apron. That was a near miss.
Absolutely. That was a very, very close incident for all those drivers. Jeans just getting turned around a little bit there, but man, that was probably the most intense restart I've seen at Talladega that hasn't been like a green-white-checkered in quite a while, Reese.
Yeah, oh, absolutely loved the intensity of that battle. Shame that it's ended like it has. To see Michael Jeans still up there would have been very nice, but nonetheless, we have another cast of characters up here at the front. We've still got Finn Robinson up there in that top group, who has yet to take his second stop. So he could still be a factor later on. Let's see if he decides to bring it into the pits at some point along this caution. We do have a wave around, though. Making his way around the pace car is Randy Funderburg.
All right, so I'll see if anyone takes to the pits this time around. Looks like a couple of the mid-pack are going to dive down. Kruschka in the pits from his incident, but it looks like Tyler Graff is going to head into the pits. He's down. Kruska's in the pits as well as Mitchell Sullivan, Hunter Gagan, and Bill Schmidt. James, who else do you see down there?
Doing a little bit of searching through. So far, only see the 17, and yeah, he missed his box. That is really, really heartbreaking for him because he was doing a great job there. Looks like the 05 of Scott Rickard was on pit road, but that looks like he's just getting damage fixed. I think Scott might be out of this one.
Yeah, speaking of damage, Reese, I'm taking a look at our current leader, Creighton Carter, and he's got some front left damage himself. That front left hood seems to be pushed in a little bit. That's going to be affecting his straight line speed. Dan Hissey, who's tucked in behind him. Dan's got a pretty clean front end himself. So does Tyler Graff and Daniel Stein as well. So I think Creighton Carter is going to have a little bit of an issue here on this restart. It might make things interesting.
Yeah, certainly might. Yeah, you could see from the onboard that Creighton Carter's bonnet, as we call it in Down Underland, is a little bit crumpled. So there's going to be quite a bit of drag coming off that thing now, and he's going to have to rely on the drivers behind to push him. Having said that, I think that if the top line gets a good run and they decide to swipe on down, that's probably going to help Creighton Carter too. If he has a truck in front of him, that's a bit of a hole punched in the air, and the drag caused by that damage doesn't matter as much.
Absolutely. So he might be a good pusher, but he probably isn't going to be a good leader. And even though that damage is fairly minor, when you're going 200 miles an hour, it makes a huge difference to have anything extra sticking out in the air. And these trucks aren't exactly the most aerodynamically efficient machines, even regardless. So it'll be very interesting to see how this restart plays out. Now, they have done a full-length caution this time around because of the fact that we have a couple of trucks a lap down and all the damaged trucks had to be cleared out of the way. So we'll see whether or not we get the one to go this time around as the iRacing pace car gets set to cross the line and start our 41st lap.
Let's see if the lights flick off over the line. They do indeed. We'll be going green at the end of this lap. So now Creighton Carter will be thinking about the launch. When does he decide to go in the tri-oval? Does he get on the power smoothly? Does he absolutely floor it at the first opportunity? It's all about how the drivers on the top line react, because once they, I think once they start moving down into the low line, as we've seen happen on a lot of restarts, they're going to be running like that for a few laps until we see drivers trying the higher lines again.
Yeah, so this will be very interesting to see what happens here, because once again, we've got a mix of familiar names and new names up at the front. We've got Creighton Carter, Dan Hissey in second, Tyler Graff in third, Daniel Stein in fourth, Finn Robinson fifth, Jason Nethery sixth, with Michael Krobach in seventh, Ken Zeems in eighth, Adam Coles ninth, and Sean A. Williams rounding out your top 10. As they head down the back straight, Reese, how much more of this kind of racing can these guys take? I mean, we are almost closing in on 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and I think that's when the gloves are really going to start to come off. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another caution before the end of the race, with the amount of intensity that's going to build up over the next 13 laps. But, well, there's going to be a lot of drivers out there, particularly in the mid-pack, just thinking, look, we've got 14 laps to go. If there's an incident in front of me, I can try and avoid it. The guys at the front will be thinking, we're trying to keep these positions as much as we can. Just before we go green, biggest mover in the field at the moment is Jason Nethery in 6th place. He's up 31 positions from where he started. Let's see if he can make it 32 or 33.
The iRacing pace car drops down to that yellow line and pulls off, releasing the control of the race to Creighton Carter and Dan Hissey at the front of the pack. Thomas Fensler and Kevin Kittleman, both drivers who are up at the front of the pack, are now out of this race. So Creighton Carter looks like he's going to jump quite early, even before they reach the midpoint of the dog leg. So they're going once again. Tyler Graff going to follow him through in the 26 truck, and this is actually strung out the field significantly.
Looks like Finn Robinson didn't quite get the memo, as, down on the apron, that's David Leakey just coming out of the pits and avoiding everyone. So good on him for staying out of the way there. But looks like single file up at the front for the time being. We've got Carter, then Graff, then the two teammates of Hissey and Stein. Finn Robinson has picked up the draft again. He's going to start to make his way towards the front of this pack.
That was Jeremy Garand who spun off towards the inside. I believe we're going to be able to stay green. He crosses back up into the field, but he's able to keep going, so we're going to stay green here. He got spit out from the back of the pack, but look at this. The two teammates, as you said, Hissey and Graff, trying to make their way around the outside.
Fantastic stuff here from these guys. Finn Robinson has latched onto the back and he's following him there as well. So Dan Hissey to the lead as they cross the line. He doesn't have the space to move down on Creighton Carter though, and the inside line gets the advantage in the turns once again. Once the tires get back up to temperature, we'll see what the high line can do. And have a look at Philip Resch. He's starting to make it 3 wide now as he goes to the top with Scott Ricard.
Absolutely, Phil Resch and Scott Ricard there. You just see them on that high line trying to push their way to the front. They've got a head of steam down the backstretch, but it will lose a little bit of speed as they go through the corners. Let's see whether or not they can keep that speed going, though, because they had a lot of momentum, and in these trucks, momentum is everything. So as they come off of the turn 4, they're going to go into the dog leg with a little bit of a head of steam there. They're going to line up, in fact, with that front row. So we got Creighton Carter, Dan Hissey, and Phil Resch currently battling for the lead. Phil Resch leads it as they come across the line.
That's amazing. You know, at the line, Creighton Carter had a .012 second lead over Dan Hissey. Philip Resch, another 0.02 of a second behind. This is intense as Hissey, a little bit jerky there in the middle. Got to be careful, guys. Moving up to the high line again, a bit further in the pack is Kenny Zeems. He's going to try and join Ricard and Resch up there.
Fantastic racing there. Look at that. Kenny Zeems actually diving down to the middle lane. He's going to line up in behind Finn Robinson, trying to push that way. And it looks like that's actually sucked a lot of the momentum off of that top line. So the 83 starting to fall back now. They're getting a little squirrely. The 15 getting a little bit of a, giving a little bit of a push to the 2 as they go into the tri-oval. That could be a real danger spot. But look at this. The 2 teammates can't seem to stay hooked up on that high side.
Yeah, they're having issues there coming out of the tri-oval, a little bit of instability, which has allowed Philip Resch to gain a little bit of time on them. But for the time being, it seems things calming down through turns 1 and 2. Still got Creighton Carter there safe in the lead, but as they come off the banking, the upper line's getting that extra launch off the corner. Have a look at Resch coming up on the outside. Still got the driver of Scott Ricard behind him, and they are joined by a few mates. They got Hunter Gogan there, Regis Clark, along with Matt Crockett and Randy Funderburg, all trying to drag themselves along up the top.
Hunter Gogan has shown a lot of speed this race, but just does not have an opportunity to capitalize on it. And now we've got to check up on the bottom lane. This is going to give a great opportunity to that third lane. They have 3 trucks right now trying to push their way through on the high side. Is it going to get Philip Resch cleared? Not quite, but the 2 teammates are going to drop down in front. Dan Hissey and Daniel Stein dropping down in front, trying to make that bottom line work. That's going to actually leave the top lane really exposed to the air. They're going to lose a lot of speed as they come off a 2. It's going to be really close here. Here goes Finn Robinson up the middle. Is he going to be able to get clear?
Looks like he is, and he moves down to the bottom, leaves Kenny Zeems high and dry. Whoa, this is amazing. 4 wide there, and a bit of contact, and there we go. Trucks down onto the apron, comes back up. This is going to be another caution.
Absolutely it is. That was very, very close between those drivers. That was 4 wide, and they just couldn't sustain it as they were entering to 3 and 4.
Oh my goodness, they were getting a little bit too racy there on the replay. You just see the 2 trucks down on the bottom. That was the number 26 of Tyler Graff and Creighton Carter, who led the restart, getting down there on the bottom. So poor Carter with even more damage to deal with, and yeah, just a very unfortunate turn of events.
Absolutely jumping on board with the 60 of Mazzucato. We'll see how he handles this, because this is the kind of thing that absolutely is going to make you panic when you see trucks going like that. Wow, he just can't avoid it. Ends up getting collected by the 71 coming back up on track. Nothing he could do.
That's a shame there for Zaccardo. You know, looking at that onboard, he did everything right. He lifted off, which is what you should do when a wreck is happening in front of you. But unfortunately, with how close everyone was, he was just boxed in. He couldn't take avoiding action for that incident when the trucks came back up onto the track. So, with 8 laps to go, my goodness, we are going to have a proper sprint to the finish. How intense is this going to get?
Absolutely. They're probably going to restart with about 5 laps to go. So, it's really important to note how many people have taken their fast repairs. Finn Robinson has not taken his. Kenny Zeems in second has taken a fast repair. And we have Daniel Stein and Philip Resch, the teammates. They've also taken theirs. So remember, everyone's got their spare truck that they can use, but we do have some drivers coming down to the pits. Drew Bernard, Trevor McManus, Matt Crockett, Randy Funderburg is going to come down pit lane as well. James, what do you see down there?
The Drew, oh my goodness, he airmailed it through his box. He had to back up 2 spots. Oh my goodness.
Grab a replay of that one. Goodness me. And this is the kind of error that you certainly don't want to make. Look at how much he had to reverse there to try and get back into his box. He missed it by a whole pit box, actually. So that's cost him an absolute ton of time down there.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking. I think he just came in for fuel, and he just might have thrown any chance he has of winning this race away. That is terrible.
Well, as he makes his way back out on track, Finn Robinson, I mean, everyone else has had bad luck today with getting into the incidents, and Finn has been able to survive that incident up at the front of the pack and been able to hang on to this lead of the race. So he will once again lead the restart, but it's probably going to be a little bit longer before we head to the restart as we're following the pace car around. But quite a few trucks taking repairs or out of this race. Randy Funderburk is currently in pit lane taking repairs, as well as Matt Zaccardo, Daniel Mosteller, Tony Burt, Jeremy Garand are also taking pits. We've lost David Leakey, Kyle Dean, Thomas Fensler, Seth Hagen, and Kevin Kittleman. John Buwalda has been in the pits for about 17 minutes, clearly doing an engine repair himself. So the attrition around Talladega, high as always, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. It's something that you always got to expect when you come here to Alabama. But as you said, Finn Robinson, he's the day's just gone really well for him, really. He's kept himself up there in the top pack, you know, crucially staying out of the pits during that second cycle that we saw under the second caution. And now he's put himself up into a position where he can really go for that win. It's going to be a lot of drivers trying to fight for it, though. He's got Kenny Zeems, Dan Hizzy, Michael Krobach, and Daniel Stein behind him. Still got Philip Resch up there, who's been making his name known up there at the very top of the field.
Lights go out on the iRacing pace car, so they will line up 2 by 2. Michael Krobach in 4th position is our highest running non-Chevy driver, currently in the Ford F-150. Philip Resch, our highest running Toyota Tundra driver. There are 3 Ford F-150s and 5 Toyota Tundras in the field. We've already lost 2 of the Toyota Tundras in the back of the pack, but it's mostly a field of Chevrolets today.
The Silverado Cup, it seems, and don't blame them. I'm a bit of a General Motors man myself. Of course, we had Holden down here in Australia until just a couple of years ago. It was a very big shame to lose that brand, but Chevrolet, obviously iconic in the United States, and the Silverado, one of the most popular pickup trucks out there, certainly showing that it can take it to the world here at Talladega. But lights off on the pace car, as you said, Adam, and it's going to be up to Finn Robinson to nail the throttle. The teammates of Hizzy and Mr. Stein, they're going to want to stick with him. They'll be monitoring him down there as they come down to the tri-oval. Any sign of a jerk forward from the number 2, and they'll be there with him.
Absolutely. And James, you've seen a couple of folks who have taken their fast repairs on this pit stop. Who'd you get?
Crockett, Jeans, and Rada all took their fast repairs. They're going for last gasp. Honestly, a lot of the trucks like Jeans and Rada, they did not have a whole lot of damage, so they're throwing the Hail Mary of best car wins. Crockett, however, yeah, Crockett, he definitely needed his. That truck had seen better days.
All right, so we're going to restart this race with 5 laps to go. Finn Robinson will lead them to the line as the iRacing pace car drops down below the yellow line and takes the left turn onto pit lane. Finn Robinson will lead with Kenny Zeems in the 15 truck on the outside in that black and red machine. Let's see when Finn decides to go, if he does a similar thing to what we saw last restart, or whether he's going to wait a little bit longer. He's waiting longer because Kenny Zeems eager to go, about a nose ahead right now. Finn Robinson waiting even longer, and now they get going once again. Kenny Zeems with a good run, but the 83 truck immediately to the high side, trying to go around the 72 truck of Michael Krobach. Finn Robinson, though, losing a little bit of his support, but they finally get organized below him. The 15 truck of Kenny Zeems now getting a little bit shafted there as the 83 truck of Philip Resch really trying to make a move around the outside.
Indeed, they've already formed 3 lanes there. As have a look at Dan Hizzy moving up there on Finn Robinson as they come down the back stretch. And that is Hizzy to the lead, but he's got Resch up on the top line, getting pushed by Scott Ricard, who's continued to make his presence known here in the top 10. But they're all on their lonesome for the moment. There's been a crash further back. We got a truck down on the grass.
Absolutely. Hopefully we stay green because this racing up at the front is getting very intense. A lot of hard pushing there as we come to 4 to go this time around. The 26 truck still parked in the grass right now, still trying to get going. That is the truck of Tyler Graff, who was up here in the lead of the race for multiple times this race. But here we go. A nice push there for Kenny Zeems on that high side. They're trying to make the way around with Ken Zeems trying to push him as well.
Fantastic racing. Looks like that very top line has really fallen out of favor, but here we go. The middle line with Kenny Zeems up at the front, continuing to move forward. Moving up ahead of Michael Jeans as Hunter Gagan up there on the top line. And looks like Dan Hizzy down on the bottom. Oh no, there's been contact further up the top, and that looks like Philip Resch. And all the trucks managed to keep going. Aaron Poplin, Philip Resch, and Tony Burt all coming a cropper there, but we stay green.
And we're going to have to stay green because if we take a yellow flag, it might end the race. I'm not sure whether there's a green-white checker on this particular race, but Hunter Kagan up there on the high side, he's going to lead this lap as they come around. It's still 3 wide for the lead. The 96 truck on the bottom side trying to make it work. Dan Hissey trying to do that with Hunter Kagan on that high side. And in the middle, Kenny Zeems and Ken Zeems pushing each other as they try and all take the lead here as they come off a 2.
The Zeems is looking very squirrely there in the middle. That's allowed Hunter Gagan to get a little bit of a run there with Michael Jeans behind, and they've also got Finn Robinson still there with them too. Moving down to the bottom as oh dear, here we go. Ricochet. Another big one.
A little bit too ambitious from the 15 of Kenny Zeems, who thought he could split the middle. The yellow flag is out with 3 to go. Here's the replay.
Moving down to the bottom there was Hunter Gogan, but unfortunately it just looked like Michael Jeans just turning down there on the 2 lanes below and off the track massively into the barriers. We had trucks sliding up onto the track. We'll take a look at another angle of it here.
Absolutely riding on board with Sean A. Williams, who was in the lead of this race earlier on. You see the smoke and just nowhere to go. He gets completely pile driven from behind and just cannot slow the truck down as he ends up dooring the 15.
It's huge shame for a lot of these drivers, and considering this, unless we have a green-white-checkered, this is how the race is going to end. I'm just
and it will be a green-white-checkered.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Yes, thank goodness for that. We get to see this kind of intensity again. Remember, that's about the length that a green-white checker would have been. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this race will go, because they will only just get up to speed by the time they come around to take the checkered flag because of the way that these trucks work. But Michael Jeans in the 08 has fully recovered from that incident we saw him in earlier. He's now up in that 3rd position. Dan Hissey in 2nd, and Hunter Gagan currently leading this race at the most opportune time.
Indeed, but with the green-white checkered, everyone behind him is going to want to advance forward and try and grab that position, so he's going to have to be looking over his shoulders as Hunter. We're seeing just a few more cars coming in for a final pit stop here. James, what's going on down there?
Trying to figure out who's coming in, having little technical difficulties with the computer.
Looks like Michael Krobach is in the pits there taking tyres just to get some fresh rubber on him for the green-white checkered. We've got plenty of trucks down in the pits, most of them with varying states of damage now. I think after that incident, Kenny and Ken Zeems are going to be absolutely kicking themselves. They were the 2 trucks that ended up going down off the circuit and ultimately coming back up and causing that caution. And just goes to show that racing at Talladega, it's never over until the checkered flag flies. There's plenty that can go wrong in a race like this.
Absolutely, and here's a name we haven't talked about. Our biggest mover right now on track, JT Tinker in 7th position. up 31 spots, having started 38. That's third to last, Reese, and he's now up there battling in the top 10. And if you're in the top 10 going on to a green-white checkered start, you potentially have a chance for the win.
Yeah, big props to JT there, playing the long game, starting in 7th place. He could certainly be a factor when we go green. The lights are still on the iRacing pace car, so we are going to be going for at least one more lap here. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be keeping my eyes squarely focused on that top 3 of Gogan, Hizzy, and Jeans. Remember Finn Robinson. He has not pitted under any of the recent cautions we've seen. He's actually still one of the only cars in the field on one pit stop. The only other car that's taken a single pit stop so far is Dan Hizzy. So they'll be running a bit light on the fuel. They'll have worn tires. They're going to have to be careful.
Absolutely. Steve Rada, who took his fast repair last time and now has damage, and so he came into the pits and is back out, but he's definitely going to have trouble. But one thing to note that's different, Reese, for Finn Robinson versus the last couple times he's taken a restart, he has damage for the first time today.
Yeah, he does. It looks like the front right fender has been knocked about a bit in the midst of all of that contact that was happening as the drivers form up for the final formation lap here. And I'll correct myself from before. There are actually 3 cars in the field on a single pit stop. The third is Jason Nethery, who files into 8th, up 29 positions. There's some really big movers in this field.
Absolutely. So Hunter Gagan will lead them to the line with Dan Hissey in 2nd, Michael Jeans in 3rd, Finn Robinson in that 4th spot with Trevor McManus. Haven't talked about him a lot, but he's been in the play for quite a while in 5th position, the number 9 truck. Brian Kazmara starting off in 6th with JT Tinker, our biggest mover right now, in 7th. Jason Nethery, who we just mentioned, has only taken 1 pit stop in 8th, with William Kruska, our league manager, in 9th, and Spencer Breslin, who was up there battling for the lead earlier on, in the 10th position. So we've got a lot of big names at the front right now, a lot of big names who have DNF from this, but Reese, it's a green-white checker finish, and with the amount these guys have been pushing, do you expect that they're going to make it to the end?
Oh, no idea, man. Considering how intense the racing has been so far, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of biff and barge going on in the midfield as drivers try to make their way towards the front. But Hunter Gagan is going to have his eyes forward right now, eyes on stalks as well, looking forward and back, because he is going to be attacked from all sides.
They go through 3 and 4. Hunter Gagan will lead them to the line. It's definitely going to be one of the most intense restarts. I mean, we saw a very intense restart a couple of restarts ago. This last one was also intense with the amount of pushing. Ended up being just a little bit too aggressive. We'll see whether or not everyone can manage to make it to the white flag. That will for sure end this race. I believe it's up to Kruska as to how many green-white checkers we get in this race, but here we go, ready to go once again with about 22 trucks left in the field. Hunter Gagan will lead them to the line as we all start to stack up, getting ready for the restart. Hissey on the outside is going to give Gagan just a little bit of about half a truck's length. I'm going to start to roll up on him now with the 2 of Finn Robinson next to him. Here we go, ready for the green flag. And Hunter Gagan gets on it. Hissey with a little bit of tire spin, the 2 with tire spin as well. So as we get going, once again, that bottom lane a little bit more organized. The 96 really squirrely on that high side, can't really get it going. You see a truck drop down. I believe that was JT Tinker who drops down to the bottom side. But look at that top line just completely falling apart.
Brian Chamara dropping the number 53 down there, and as you say, yeah, that top line falling apart, but not for Michael Jeans. He goes in front there of Dan Hizzy and rides that momentum to get back into the race lead.
Absolutely. So now, once again, Michael Jeans up there in the lead of this race. Very, very intense stuff as we see the 17 truck dive up to the high side. That's William Kruska trying to make it work up there, but he's got a little bit too much damage. Can't do it done alone. He's now got a high line that's working with him. Here we go. That's the 7 Hunter Gagan, who's dropped up to the high side. He's going to pull the same move on Hissey that Hissey played on him.
Indeed, Dan Hizzy there, left high and dry as down to the bottom he goes onto the apron. I'm seeing a truck through the tri-oval. Matt Crockett manages to get back on as they go 4 wide in the mid-pack. This is really intense here. Dan Hizzy is going to start to want some help here from the number 2 because the bottom line is starting to get away.
Absolutely, and here we go. Oh my goodness, almost a wreck at the front. How did they keep that going? But Hunter Gagan's able to retain the lead. Now the 2 truck gets going. More bumper trucks as they keep going. That was JT Tinker making contact with Finn Robinson, but everyone's able to keep it straight.
Trevor McManus files back onto the circuit. He's lost some momentum as the ricocheting goes on further back. It looks like we got trucks around. There's going to be another caution potentially here. Krushka getting off there with Brian Chamara.
Spun around. It's a huge mess. It's still going green. We're still green as they're wrecking across the line. And here we go. Finn Robinson's gonna take the win.
My goodness, Finn Robinson.
Oh
he
my
faced off everything.
If we could get an onboard with Finn Robinson coming out of 4, this was unbelievable. He hit everything and managed to keep it going straight. Manages to dodge everything. The seas hard for him. For Moses, Finn Robinson ends up taking the win.
Oh, heavens above. That was an incredible finish. Oh, you see Gagan getting turned around. There's the onboard from Finn Robinson. Look at how many close calls there was here into the wall, just avoiding. Oh my goodness, what an incredible way to finish a race.
Finn Robinson wins the Chester Bennington Memorial 150 of 2021 in a very stylish fashion. Impressive stuff for sure. There is our winner coming back into the tri-oval. Look at all of the damage on that truck. But oh my goodness, what a race. We are going to have the unofficial results and some interviews for you very shortly after this break. Don't go anywhere. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to the 2021 Chester Bennington Memorial 150, done for the campaign to change direction, put on by the Sim Racers for Mental Health. And oh my goodness, what a finish we had. Finn Robinson taking the win over Michael Jeans by under 1/100th of a second. Matt Crockett also 1/100th of a second behind that. The top 4 crossing the line almost identically in times. Then Michael Krobach coming home in 4th position with Ken Zeems in 5th. Steve Rada crossing the line almost on his lid in 6th. Scott Ricard coming home in 7th with Phil Resch in 8th. Drew Bernardi, after having not so good of a day during half of the race, comes home in 9th place. And Trevor McManus crawls his way to 10th to come home in the top 10.
McManus started outside the top 32, one of the biggest movers in the field. Dan Hizzy, well, he was battling for the lead, but ultimately has to settle for 11th after that race-ending wreck. JT Tinker comes home in 12th. Our second place starter, Sean Williams, started obviously in 2nd, but had to settle for 13th in the end. Breslin in 14th. Our pole sitter, Sean Stevens, coming home in 15th position after quite a few issues along the way in those wrecks. Hunter Gagan coming home in 16th. William Krushka in 17th, with Brian Jamara, Tyler Graff, and Jason Nethery rounding out the top 20. The only cars for finish on the lead lap there.
Tony Burt begins your trucks that finished a lap down. The rest of your finishers just not having good days, many of them involved in the wrecks that happened near the end. Out of 40 trucks, only 20 finished on the lead lap. But we have our winner with us, Finn Robinson. Finn, you could not have been positive that you were going to win that race coming through the tri-oval. Talk to me about that finish.
I had no chance of winning from, probably on the back stretch when I got doored. My front, I could see my whole front left, so I had no hope. But that tri-oval finish, that was crazy. That was something else. I just kept it pinned and just didn't let off.
And Finn, it seemed like the waters parted for you for most of the day. You avoided the big one that happened at the front of the field as well today, and you led a couple of restarts. Was there any sort of strategy in your mind about staying at the front, or was it just the fortunes and the seas parting today that was allowed you to stay up there?
A bit of both, mainly. I got real lucky in one of the big wrecks. I think everybody got wrecked from third back, and I was second at the time. That was lucky, but the main strategy was to stay up front and stay at the front and let all the wrecks happen behind you. That way I haven't got to risk getting around any or getting and caught up in any, and we can just plow on through.
And Finn, we noticed that the second to last race start with 5 to go, you had some of that right side damage already. What led to the decision to stay out there? Because it ends up being the winning decision.
Well, mainly the fact I realized I didn't have any right damage. Sorry, I had no idea actually, so that might have something to do with it.
Absolutely, Finn. Well, congratulations for taking the win today in the Chester Bennington 150. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Absolutely. Obviously, the guys over at Sim Races for Mental Health, they do a great job over there, and I appreciate them hosting the race. It was all for a good cause, and I'm glad we got to put some good trucks on track. Jack Dell Motorsports, they build some pretty cool simulators, buying some pretty cool NASCAR Cup cars and converting them into iRacing rigs. So you can go check that out on our Facebook, Jack Dell Motorsports, and we also have our esports team, which is myself and a few others that were in tonight's race. So glad I could put it in victory lane for a good cause. I'm glad I could put it in victory lane for Jack Dell Motorsports.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for talking to us, Finn. And once again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
That was Finn Robinson, our winner tonight. Michael Jeans comes home in second, and Reese has caught up with him.
I have indeed. Welcome to the commentary box, Michael, and congratulations on that second place finish, though it was a bit chaotic there at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm sure I didn't make any friends on that last little green flag run, but, down to the end of the race, you just got to dig. So we did all we could to get there.
Indeed, you certainly did. After starting in 7th, you were involved in those lead battles for pretty much the whole race. How did you approach the pit strategy for this one? Because obviously Finn Robinson staying out, he would have been screaming on those tires, but you managed to get some fresh rubber on in the first stop.
Yeah, I was just trying to, I think I could have played it a little different. They stayed out and banked on gas for the, having enough gas due to cautions, and I wanted to just be sure to have enough gas for the cautions and the green-white-checkers to come. So I pit that one time, and I was kind of by myself, so I went ahead and put some new shoes on it. These things really don't wear tires too much, so you don't. It's more about fuel, making sure you got the right fuel number than the tires. But I went ahead, like I said, put some new boots on it when I had the chance, just because I knew being further in the back, it was going to get pretty chaotic, and we were going to have to, make some moves. So I don't know, just trying to place myself. I would have rather have stayed in the front. It's always best to be in the front. You can still have a bad day being in the front, but it happens less, I guess. So.
Yeah, indeed. Well, either way, at the end of it, you still cross the line second, albeit a bit sideways, thanks to that whack by Matt Crockett across the line. So, you happy with the result?
Yeah, I am. These races, you're just here to have fun and support, the mental health game. And, I'm a big believer in that and doing everything we can to bring awareness to the mental health. Also Chester Bennington, I'm a big fan. I was listening to the music during the whole race. So that, I would have liked to have won. For my team and my sponsors, you always want to get the best possible result. But, I got to lead some laps. I'm sure I made some some highlights and maybe some lowlights, but we did what we needed to do. We had a good night.
You did indeed. Well, thank you very much, Michael Jeans, for joining us. Final driver interview of the night is, Adam Lindgren, you've got Matt Crockett with you.
Yeah, Matt, when you got into that incident, the second to last caution, I mean, what were you thinking as far as your chances of coming home in third place?
First thing I was, ow, that hurt. Second thing was, I thought I had absolutely zero chance.
Absolutely, but you ended up coming home in third after it was a very, very chaotic last lap. Talk to me about how you made it to the line.
Well, what I did was back off a little bit from the truck in front of me just so I could see. Those rear spoilers are very hard to see through, so I kind of backed off a little bit, give me some room to see. I saw what was going on and daze the thunder it, drop the hammer and go.
Absolutely, Matt. And for most of the rest of the day, you sat around fourth or fifth in line, generally on the bottom. What was your strategy going into this race? Was it to hang out there towards the middle of the front, or did you want to be further forward and just couldn't find your way there?
They were fighting pretty hard up front, and I noticed, 3, sometimes 4 wide, and I don't want to be in the middle of that. So me personally, I like to go back, chill out in the back, game of survival type of thing. And, about 10 to go, start making your way up, and hopefully luck's on your side.
Absolutely, Matt. Well, congratulations on a third place finish, because luck definitely was on your side with all that chaos going on. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Well, I do have personal sponsors myself, but this is straight for sim racing for mental health. I want to do a shout out to Suicide Prevention Lifeline 1-800-273-TALK 8255 or suicidepreventionlifeline.org. If you have anything, you got family, you got friends, talk to them, give them a call, give this number a call, go online. We are here for you. We love you. We love each and every person.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us, Matt, and we look forward to seeing more of you in the future. That was Matt Crockett, and it looks like we've got Michael Krobach, who's going to be talking to Reese.
Indeed, Michael, coming home there in fourth place after starting from 11th. You were certainly right in the midst of all of that right at the end.
Yeah, Reese, we restarted back in 15th there with 2 to go, and we had a fresh truck after pushing the 96 there the previous run. We got a little bit of damage, reset our truck, and I wanted to help my teammate Tyler Graff, but he had a bit of damage and got kind of hung out on the top side. So we shot the middle, flew from 15th to 1st, saw the checkered flag in sight, had the lead for a little bit in the tri-oval, 100 feet from the line, got turned head on in the wall and came home 4th. So we gave it our all and sent it up there, but a little bit short.
A little bit short indeed, but still a very good result. And I guess this shows that Talladega always turns it up, especially at the end.
Yeah, it was a great race all around. A lot of respect out there for the whole 54 or so laps. And just a good group of guys to race with. I'm really happy to be a part of this, and thank William for hosting it.
Anyone else that you'd like to thank before we let you go, Michael?
Yeah, for sure. Got to thank everybody under the Loud Pedal Motorsports, NLR, SimRacing, and Graphics Esports banners. Tyler Graff and Creighton Carter were my teammates there today, and we worked well together, setting fast times in practice and running up through the field. And got to thank all the sponsors, HPP Simulation, Thumbs Up Cancer Down, SimRacing Apps, Clipping That Apex, Midwest Simulations, Ready to Frag, Spotlights, SimRacing Apps, CJ Automotive, and Amzo Adam Blattle.
Michael Krobach there, 4th place finisher. Well, Adam, I think that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, and I had a lot of fun doing this. It was a very intense race from start to finish.
Extremely intense from start to finish and very entertaining. A lot of strategy that we saw as well, but it was a fantastic race, absolutely, and an unforgettable finish. But we want to give a big thanks to the Sim Races for Mental Health for bringing us on for this exhibition race. And to learn more about the campaign to change direction, visit their link in our description of this video. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June DeLon, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team tonight, Reese, James, Sean, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. The link is in the description below as well. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button down there as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so go check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Next up for GSRC will be the Grand Prix Legends at Imola coming up in just under 11 hours, and we look forward to seeing you there. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing the racing to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.